What now then for Harry and Meghan? Following that shock announcement that they're stepping back from their roles as senior royals, reaction has been swift and not altogether supportive, even from within their own family. The Queen is among those said to have been left hurt after they reportedly ignored her instructions not to go public, and Harry's father and brother apparently saw the statement just before it broke. Beyond the family dispute, there's a bigger question. Is this a brave move to modernise the monarchy, or one that will leave the couple in the cold? Our royal correspondent Simon Vigar reports.
Meghan and Harry visiting Canada House just 2 days ago. We thought it was their big "hello, we're back" moment. Turns out it was actually "goodbye, we're off." Last night they dropped their bombshell statement describing a progressive new role, which leaves an awful lot of room for manoeuvre. Their wedding was less than 2 years ago, but it seems a lot longer than that. Who could have known back then that the new senior royals would want to hand in their cards so quickly? Buckingham Palace was completely blindsided.
Both of them are senior members of the royal family. They've got a lot to give. They've already given a lot. And to walk away from it, to disappoint not just the Queen, not just the Prince of Wales or the Duke of Cambridge, but also disappoint their country. And what they've done is quite unforgivable.
But why have they done it, and why like this? Their unhappiness was clear in the documentary made during their tour of southern Africa in September. Harry spoke of the rift with his brother, Meghan of the unfairness of the press.
My British friend said to me, "I'm sure he's great, but you shouldn't do it because the British tabloids will destroy your life."
The rushed statement came out after a 6-week holiday in Canada, and it ruins one of Charles's main plans for the monarchy. Yes, he wants it to be leaner, but the Sussexes were very much part of the master plan.
Much has been made of talk about this slimmed-down monarchy that people say Prince Charles wants. However, I do think that within that, there would have been a significant role for Harry and Meghan. Harry is due to eventually be the son of the king, one of his only 2 sons, and I think that there would have been a key role for the Sussexes if they had wanted to stay within the structure and within the firm.
And above all else, this is a military family. What happens to the ceremonial roles passed to Harry in trust by his grandfather Philip? Harry now leads the service at the Field of Remembrance every November. He also inherited the prestigious office of Captain General of the Royal Marines. Everything is now up in the air. Harry has accused the British tabloids of a ruthless campaign against his wife. There are allegations that some of the coverage has an undercurrent of racism. The whole atmosphere has become toxic.
Naysayers are likely to point this all at Meghan. They're going to say that she's come into this family and changed everything. Actually, a lot of this screams Harry. He has his fingerprints all over this statement. His desire to step away from the media is no secret to anyone. He's been talking about this long before Meghan even came on the scene. I think he just feels emboldened because he's with someone that supports him, and he now has a family to protect.
There's no doubt he wants as normal a life as possible for Archie, and feels the further they are from palaces, the better. As Harry's old regiment, the Blues and Royals, rode past today, you couldn't help but feel there really has been a changing of the guard. Simon Vigar, 5 News.
Well, our royal correspondent Simon Vigar is outside at Buckingham Palace just now. Simon, how big is this?
Oh, it's massive, Julian. I mean, it might be a natural evolution of the oldest family firm there is, or it might be a seismic moment. I think it is a seismic moment, actually, and it's clear that there have been meetings going on this afternoon. I can tell you the Queen and Charles and William, none of them wanted this to be public so quickly in the way it has become public. But a source has just told me that all 3, the Queen, Charles and William, have directed their teams to work together at pace with governments and the Sussex household to find workable solutions. The source told me expect this to take days and not weeks. Notice the plural there in governments. So are they talking about the governments of Canada and the USA, splitting some of the security costs when the Sussexes are not in the UK? We just don't know at this stage, but we will find out soon. And it's clear that the senior team, the remaining senior royals, want to make this work. They want Harry and Meghan as part of the firm.
Sounds like they're negotiating Brexit, doesn't it? No less complicated, probably. To say the rest of the family, though, have been shocked is probably an understatement, isn't it, Simon?
Yeah, they are shocked, Julian, and they're saddened, and, it didn't have to be like this. We've been charting over the last few months the gradual estrangement of Harry and Meghan from the rest of the family. He spoke about the rift with his brother in that documentary, of course, and they both looked pretty unhappy. Meghan said at one point, "Thanks for asking how I am, because nobody's asked me that question." Going back to your Brexit analogy, this is a question of leave or remain. It's very hard to see how you can be half in and half out. I mean, it's not been done before. It's very difficult with all of those issues of commercial sponsorship, being accused of cashing in, the security cost. But as part of the slimmed down monarchy, which is what Charles wants, absolutely, Harry, Meghan and Archie were part of that master plan. And if they can make it work, they will make it work. And maybe it's a question of semigration, being part of the time in North America and part of the time here. That's what Harry and Meghan want. Let's see if they get it.
We will see. Thank you, Simon. Let's get more reaction to this. With me, our royal commentator and biographer, Angela Levin, Zizi Mills, who's a cultural commentator and YouTuber. Also here is Benjamin Waring, who's a royal photographer. Thanks all for joining me tonight. First of all, Angela, it was this time yesterday when that news came through. It was 6:33, a sort of wow moment, and people are still saying that 24 hours on, aren't they?
Yes, I think I was incredibly saddened and then rather irritated by the announcement. I think I'm a great royalist, and the royal family becomes almost like a pseudo family. And when somebody does that and behaves in such a poor way to their grandmother, who's 94 nearly in April, it's very sad that things have come to this.
But I mean, Zizi, they had to make this statement because of the pressures they've been talking about for several years now. I mean, you have to be sympathetic, really, don't you?
Yeah, I think that we, as the public, we are lacking a lot of empathy and sympathy at the moment, and we don't actually know what goes on behind closed doors. I don't think they would have come to this quickly, or it would have been a rash decision. Like you said, I think it would have been discussed between themselves. And I think that, I'm just not a fan at the moment of the way Meghan has been made to be the, it must have been her that's made Harry do this. It's her fault. Even I saw a tweet yesterday from Piers Morgan saying, that she's broken up the royal family. And it's like, what about Harry? I'm pretty sure they would have come to a decision together. And I don't like the way. I feel like she's definitely being picked on and bullied, definitely.
Piers Morgan even said that, she's turned Harry against William.
I mean, it's just ludicrous. I think people forget that Harry has never, he's always said that he kind of wants to step back from the public eye. And I think this was before Meghan came into his life. And I think people also forget that he lost his mother. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's something very traumatic for somebody at such a young age. He even said in the interview, like, I lost my mother, and the same powerful forces, I can see this happening to my wife. And I think he just wants to protect her at all costs.
And Benjamin, you've charted their marriage so far and before they were married with your photographs. I guess you've sensed that they've got more and more unhappy over time.
Well, definitely. You just look at social media nowadays and you can just see the kind of attacks that are under. You have social media trolls. You have certain social media commentators that have risen solely because of this couple. And once you're under that constant attack, it does chip away at you. And again, it's not any one decision. It would have been a decision they've both made over this past 2 years or so. And I'm sure they would have told someone in the royal family about the thoughts that they've been having.
What do you think, Angela? I mean, they look so happy in some of these photos. That seems so long ago, doesn't it?
Two things, really. One is that when I talked to Harry for the biography, he told me that he hated being in a goldfish bowl and he thought about leaving, but he felt that his sense of duty was to the Queen, and she'd asked him to take over lots of engagements that she could no longer do. And he said that was his priority. His next priority was to support William and help him right the way through, because they have a unique relationship. Well, both of those seems to have been thrown down the river, really. I don't understand how he could change.
Has things changed?
I think he is frightened of Meghan. He's frightened that he doesn't make her happy enough, and he's frightened that she might leave him. He's been very damaged because of his childhood, and I think that permeates into his feelings about being abandoned.
We'll come back to this. What will Harry and Meghan's new so-called normal life look like, though, first of all? Well, this decision raises some fundamental questions about their role as royals, their titles, and more importantly, their finances. Where will they live, and will the taxpayer have to continue to foot the bill? As the Sussexes step back, even Buckingham Palace has acknowledged there are complicated issues to work through. That may be an understatement. How the couple will be protected and paid for must be discussed. But before all that, the fundamental question of their titles. The Duke and Duchess already have a rock-solid royal brand. It's gained them more than 10 million followers on Instagram. But crucially, what would it really mean to lose their status as his and her Royal Highness?
Although Harry and Meghan have made a very clear statement of intent that they want to be part-time royals, in the royal family's 1,000-year history of that institution, that's never worked. And I don't get the sense that the Queen or the Prince of Wales or Prince William will go to those kind of lengths to accommodate that.
Key to the Sussexes' next stage is their funding, and they've already said they will work to become financially independent. But it's unclear whether they'll now lose income from the Queen's sovereign fund and Prince Charles's Duchy of Cornwall estate. The couple plan to base themselves at their Frogmore cottage home on the Windsor estate when in the UK. But that arrangement is up to the Queen. Its refurbishment cost the taxpayer nearly £2.5 million. Harry's personal net worth is thought to stand at around £30 million.
I'm Rachel Zane. I'll be giving you your orientation.
As an actress, Meghan reportedly earned more than £300,000 per series of Suits. But could the couple really go it alone financially?
They could create TV programs. People have said that they might have a reality TV show, and I know people who are waiting to watch it. So, there are plenty of things in the media, products, licensing, endorsements. They really could become very rich if they're allowed to.
Then there's the very important matter of their security. It's believed the couple and their son are protected by 8 full-time Met Police bodyguards. But that comes with their HRH status. And who would protect them outside of the UK?
So there's a problem here, and I don't see the Canadians, for one moment, funding that out of their own pocket. They will want reimbursing from the British government, the taxpayer. And there's the problem, will the British public accept the members of the royal family, very popular members of the royal family, living abroad and still being funded by the British taxpayer?
They wish to move back from the front line and somehow remain royal. But the future steps of Harry and Meghan may now come under even more scrutiny than they experienced before. Angela, is this having one's cake and eating it? And what would it mean if they lose that HRH status, do you think?
Well, I think you can't have your own cake and eat it if you're a senior royal. You have to be all in. You have to be motivated by a sense of duty. And it seems that that's not happening. I think the timing is awful. The Queen has had the most terrible year, what with her husband being so ill, and then the scandal with Prince Andrew. And it's actually Kate Middleton's birthday today. I mean, what awful timing to snatch the publicity. It can't be that urgent that it needed to be done before it was sorted out. I don't think that all the details should be sorted out in public. People trying to scramble bits and pieces of who said what and how it's going to be paid. It should have all been sorted quietly and maturely, and then a joint announcement so it could seem as if everyone was okay with it. But this way you're antagonising, you're bullying, you're making an aggressive statement.
Zizi, sorry to intrude. Zizi, talk of a reality show there. I mean, would you watch Keeping Up with the Sussexes?
I mean, I probably would, even though I tried to pretend I don't watch reality TV, but I probably would. But
I mean, they're open to do anything now. I mean, they could be like the Obamas.
I don't think it will come to that. I think I hope it doesn't, because the whole thing is that they want to step away, and if they then decided to do a reality TV, it's kind of like a contradiction. Do you know what I mean? I hope that they do just kind of step back and move out of the public eye. But I just, it's so much. Everyone's just like, what about everybody else? What about this? What about them? But what about them? What about their mental health? What about their child? And it's just, if this is what's going to make them happy and give them peace of mind, then I think that it's up to them and we should just leave them to it.
But Meghan loves publicity. I mean, she loves publicity on her own terms. She's an actress. They thrive on publicity. So I don't think it's that she doesn't like publicity. It's that she wants to be in control of that publicity.
It's like you said, on her own terms. And as she's a brand new mother. There's a lot of pressure. She's under scrutiny, not just from the UK, from everybody. And that is a lot to deal with. And I think that we have to be very open-minded and thoughtful to that. And same with Harry. Maybe we don't know what he's going through either. And I just think that everybody kind of just needs to leave them to do it, and it should all be done now in-house, and everyone should let them...
Just quickly, Benjamin, I mean, it's people like you they don't like. I mean, not you specifically, but it's the photographers, isn't it, that have the problem.
And I've always tried my best to model my career, especially as I've started out, on doing it the right way, respecting their boundaries, always being impartial or positive to whatever they're doing and the causes that I'm there to photograph. Talk about doing reality TV, it's not going to happen. They just want to take control of their own life away from these bad headlines and these social media trolls. They want to avoid headlines such as the exotic blood comment, such vitriolic comments like that. Don't benefit anyone, and you can't blame them for wanting to get away from that sort of rhetoric.
I hadn't heard that comment. I mean, it's obviously unpleasant. But I think once you're a royal, you're always a royal, even if you stop being a royal, because that's your fave, that's what you go around with. It's very hard to ditch that. Whatever you do, it will always come back to, I wonder what this one thinks or what that one thinks.
Let's see, more to come in our in part 2. Thank you very much for now, guys. Coming up on Harry and Meghan Quit, a 5 News Tonight special. How did we get here? We take a look back at the couple's relationship with the media. And what do you think? Would you be happy to continue paying for the part-time royals? See you after the break. Welcome back to this 5 News Tonight special programme on Harry and Meghan quitting their roles as senior royals. And several commentators have said today that the couple's decision isn't really that out of character, for Harry at least. The Prince has always had an uneasy relationship with the media. And the idea of forging a new role for himself is something he's done before. Nick Wallace explains.
Ever the cheeky and somewhat unpredictable younger brother, Prince Harry's life has been privileged but very public property. His mother died hounded by paparazzi, and he was forced to grieve as the world looked on. Growing up, his mistakes were front-page news, falling out of nightclubs, experimenting with drugs, stripping off in Vegas, and memorably wearing a Nazi uniform to a fancy dress party. But the British Army was the making of the man. Harry found action, a purpose, and in the eyes of the British media, he transformed into a hero.
It wasn't done in the wrong way, but it was just...
The sense of responsibility to others became ingrained. What the Prince saw on active service stayed with him. He founded the Invictus Games for injured servicemen and women and used the media to give it a significant profile. After leaving the forces, Harry took on conservation projects in Africa and worked to highlight mental health suffering. But his engagement and marriage to Meghan Markle created a new narrative. The fairy tale wedding at times became a soap opera, and Harry was determined to protect his family from the level of media intrusion which caused so much anguish when he was a child. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex seemed content to carve out a role for themselves as senior royals, travelling the world and highlighting the causes that mattered to them both.
Everyone should be afforded the opportunity to receive education that they want, but more importantly, the education that they have the right to receive.
You must not silently suffer. You are all in this together.
Their sudden decision to step back from the media spotlight could lead to the royal couple becoming even more of a media target than they are today. Nick Wallace, 5 News.
So how is this move going down on the opposite side of the pond, which is, of course, where Meghan is from? Let us speak to US reporter Kate Fisher. What's been the reaction there, Kate?
Well, this news is everywhere, from the tabloids to the much more serious national public radio. I even know from a friend who works at the New York Times, which is full of serious-minded journalists, that they would much prefer to be talking about the war of Windsor than the war with Iran at the moment. The common denominator seems to be that everyone is shocked about the way this has all happened and how it's been handled. But the difference being that some are feeling very sorry for Meghan. They feel protective of her, that this is an American girl who's been mistreated by those cold, heartless Brits. And then there's the other side of the coin, the people who say, look, she knew what she was getting herself in for, and she shouldn't be treating the royal family in this way. There's also those who are really hopeful and speculating that perhaps the family could move here to the United States, maybe California, to be down the road from her mum.
And it was such a huge deal, wasn't it, when she joined the royal family 3 or 4 years ago?
Massive deal here. I mean, the royals are endlessly fascinating to the Americans, so it wasn't as if they needed to be made more popular, but if that was possible, I think they did. The thought that there was now an American princess has just fueled so many fantasies here. And The Crown, the Netflix series, is so popular, and just about every discussion that I've heard today has ended with the speculation that perhaps now Meghan could play herself in the next series.
Thank you very much indeed, Kate. I have wondered that. Let's return to my guests tonight. Royal commentator and biographer Angela Levin, Zizi Mills, who's a cultural commentator and YouTuber, and Benjamin Waring, who's a royal photographer. Angela, it's been a long time coming, hasn't it? But the way they told the Queen, it's reported, was pretty callous, or perhaps because they didn't tell her.
Yes, I think that she deserved to be informed. Apparently they saw it on television, which must have been a terrible shock. She's had a very hard year, as I've said, and I think it shows very little respect.
This isn't good, though, for the royal families. It's easy that Meghan has seemingly been pushed out slightly.
I think, again, I think it's so weird that it's always like Meghan has been pushed out or Harry is they're a unit. They're married and they're a unit. So I think when people discuss this, they should discuss both of them equally. Do you get what? And what we just saw is Harry has always kind of been the wild card. So all of this stuff now, as you said earlier, Angela, he's very scared of her, and I don't understand how he could be scared of her. We've always seen he's been and I think again we're just penalising her, we're homing in on her, it's all her fault, and he's always,
I think the answer to that is that she's very formidable, she's very strong, she's very talented, and at the engagement interview on television that they did for the BBC, he said that when he first saw her, he realised he had to up his game and make good talk because she was obviously amazing.
The thing is that you can't twist that to be a negative thing. If we're all for equality nowadays, you can't twist a woman's
It's not a negative thing, but he immediately put himself that she was better than him, more gifted than him.
Once you start bringing in the rhetoric that he's scared of her, that's when you start making it a negative thing.
I think he is. I mean, I spent an awful lot of time with him where he was very confident, very jolly, and connect with people absolutely brilliantly. And now he wants to please her enormously.
But people naturally in life change as things happen, as you have children and you get married, and your responsibilities in life change. Your behavioural patterns change as well. So I think it's unfair to blame Meghan for this now more calmer.
He wouldn't blame Meghan, he adores her.
Oh no, he wouldn't, but you're basically blaming her.
I'm not blaming her, I'm just saying it as I see it, that he's a very vulnerable person because of what happened to him in his childhood. He admitted he needed mental health help, and I think he's just desperate that she doesn't leave him. And I think that he's a shadow of himself.
Is she the first person to understand him, though? Is this the issue?
I think
he's never had anyone like Meghan, and she gets him.
I think his previous girlfriend Chelsea understood him very well, but she didn't want to be in the spotlight, and so she dropped him. But they went out for many years. He was very young then, of course. No, I don't think she's the first one, but she is the one for him.
Before we come back, just quickly, how has this controversial move gone down with the very people who've helped pay for Harry and Meghan? You, the taxpayers at home, we've been finding out.
Anyone that's just been born into that kind of society, it's up to them if they take on that role. It is a pressure.
I'm not quite sure they've done it in quite the right way.
I think it just shows the huge amount of stress we've put on them. And I think it's really sad because they're the next generation.
I can't relate to them. They don't have any impact on my life. I don't care. I think it's ridiculous.
They've gone into it too quick, and I thought it was disgusting that they hadn't let the Queen know first.
I'm so sorry it's happened because they seem really in love and it's a real shame.
Frankly, it's the sort of news I am least concerned about at present.
They've chosen their way to go. I tend to think it's a bit of cake and eating it.
If they're going to go their own way, they shouldn't expect any support from the public purse.
He's made the best decision for his family, I think, so...
yeah, in terms of privacy.
Yeah, it's quite a modern outlook, which I can respect.
He's not in line to be king, so I think it makes no difference to us, really.
Zizi, the younger generation we heard from there tended to be more sympathetic than the older people. Is that what you found?
Yeah, I think we do. We understand a little bit more because we understand the pressures of social media, and I think social media and the public and the media and the pressures that it has. And I think a lot of the older generation are like, well, just don't read the comments or don't this, and it's only bullying online. But there's been like laws put in place now for bullying online and certain things to stop people from harming themselves because of bullying online. So for people just to brush it over and be like, it's only online, don't worry about it, I think it doesn't make any sense. We understand what it's like. We understand how it is to grow up in this new age of everything is at hand. And a lot of people keep comparing him to, but all the other roles have handled it really well. But they haven't grown up in this era of social media where it's really impactful and powerful.
This has definitely been the story of the moment, though, hasn't it? I mean, everyone is talking about it. Everyone's got an opinion, and we will see how it develops over the weeks and months. Thank you very much indeed, guys. Thanks for that.